The story flashes back to the day Laurent was kicked out of Golden Hawk. Lucius Neek stands in front of him, cold and indifferent as he tells Laurent that he is no longer qualified to be a member. Laurent is shocked and hurt, reminding Lucius that he's been making huge contributions using his skill appraisal to recruit the best members, but Lucius simply tells him, "You're fired." Laurent recalls how things used to be. People were born with skills, miraculous abilities that define their professions. Those with battle skills became adventurers, while those with alchemy became alchemists. In the beginning, Laurent and Lucius were close friends. Laurent used his appraisal skill to help Lucius improve his own abilities. As a result, Lucius grew powerful and the Golden Hawk Guild expanded rapidly, but a gap between the two friends slowly began to grow. Laurent Gill has always been the quiet type, staying in the shadows to support his childhood friend Lucius. He even let the guy take all the credit for years while he remained a low-ranking member. But Lucius Neek isn't feeling particularly grateful today. Laurent tries to explain his contribution through recruitment and training, but the guild master just scoffs at his efforts. Lucius has Diane read Laurent's pathetic combat record out loud. Bottom of the barrel in monsters defeated and quest clears. It's an embarrassment for a 5-year veteran. Claiming he has to put the guild first, Lucius tosses a small bag of coins at Laurent's feet. It's a measly farewell gift to go along with his immediate expulsion from Golden Hawk. Laurent walks out of the headquarters, feeling like a total idiot for ever trusting them. Behind him, he can hear Lucius laughing as the doors close on his old life. Walking through the streets, he's fuming. He realizes Lucius had been setting him up to fail for a long time, pairing him with the worst teammates and withholding supplies on purpose. He stops and clutches that tiny bag of money, his knuckles white. He spent years supporting the one person he trusted, only to be thrown away like trash once he was no longer useful. He looks back at the grand building one last time. He isn't going to let this go one way or another. He's going to make Lucius regret this day. Even if he has to start from absolute zero, he's determined to climb back to the top as an independent adventurer. He heads to the local guild hub to find work as an appraiser, but the vibe in the room is instantly hostile. Everyone is whispering about the guy who just got kicked out of the town's best guild. When he finally gets to the counter, the receptionist doesn't even look up before telling him there are 0 jobs available. Not a single quest is suitable for him. He tries every contact he has, but it's the same story everywhere. Lucius has clearly used his influence to blacklist him, destroying every bridge he ever built in this town. Exhausted and wandering aimlessly, Laurent accidentally bumps into a passerby. He's too drained to even offer a proper apology as he stares blankly into the distance. The guy snaps at him, but his friends tell him to just leave it. They act like Laurent is some kind of cursed plague victim as they hurry away from him. He slumps onto a park bench, the weight of everything finally hitting him. He's lost his job, his reputation, and his purpose all in one afternoon. Just when he's about to give up, a woman in a massive witch hat approaches him. It's Lillian Lausier, and she's surprised to see him looking so defeated. She reminds him of how he helped her discover her floating skill during a previous quest. Thanks to his appraisal, she's now an A-rank witch, and she can tell something is very wrong. When he explains that he was kicked out, Lillian is absolutely livid. She can't believe Lucius would be stupid enough to throw away the man responsible for the guild's success. Over a cup of tea, Laurent vents about how his appraisal skill is useless in a fight. Lillian isn't having any of it. She knows exactly how valuable his eye for talent really is. She tells him to stop mopping because Golden Hawk isn't the only guild in the world. She's got a much better idea for his future. She suggests they start their own guild together. Laurent is stunned, but she's dead serious about founding an alchemy guild. She explains that earthcraft, the material needed for weapon repairs, is in massive demand. Since Golden Hawk currently monopolizes it, there's a huge opening for a new competitor. With his ability to spot and train talent, Lillian believes he can build a guild that will eventually make Golden Hawk look like amateurs. Laurent is hesitant, terrified of failing and letting her down, but Lillian leans in and tells him straight up that she knows he's the right man for the job. That's all the push he needed. He finally commits to the plan, vowing to create a guild unlike anything the town has ever seen. Lillian's face lights up. To celebrate their new partnership, she calls for a waiter and declares that the entire meal is on her. As they head out, Lillian is already moving a mile a minute. She wants to get everything finalized before the day is over. She tells him they'll announce the official opening tomorrow morning. Laurent can barely keep up with her energy as she drags him through the streets. They make it to the registration office just in time. The clerk stamps their papers, and just like that, their new venture is officially recognized. They stand outside their new headquarters and hang up the sign for Spirit Arsenal. Lillian is determined to make it the top alchemy guild in town. Now comes the hard part, recruitment. They need refiners and silversmiths to get the business running, and Lillian tells Laurent to leave the scouting to her. Thanks to her recommendation, a steady stream of applicants starts showing up. Laurent sits through interview after interview, but none of them are quite right. He scans through their stats and finds nothing but scammers and mediocre talent. Finding someone truly gifted is proving to be a lot harder than he expected. Just as he's about to call it a day, a young woman named Ari walks in. She's looking for a position as a silversmith, and Laurent prepares to check her stats. His appraisal skill reveals something incredible. While her silversmithing is just okay, her potential for ore refining is a massive A rank. She's a total hidden gem. He asks her why she's applying, and she mentions she has some experience in silversmithing. Laurent then makes a bold suggestion. Instead of smithing, would she be open to becoming a refiner? Ari is caught off guard, but she's desperate for work. She tells him she's willing to take on any job as long as it means she's finally hired. Laurent wraps up the interview and thanks her for coming. Ari walks out of the room convinced she just blew another opportunity. Out on the street, she feels completely crushed. Spirit Arsenal was her last hope, and she's certain she'll just be another rejection letter in the pile. But when the mail actually arrives, her eyes go wide. She's been hired. She can't believe a guild supported by someone as famous as Lillian actually wants her. Overjoyed, she rushes back to the guild house. She's finally going to get back to work in a real workshop and prove her worth. Laurent greets her at the door, but Ari is confused. She's the only one there. Laurent smiles and tells her she's the only person he hired before offering to show her the workshop. Ari is trying to process her new reality. She's finally been hired as a refiner, but the pressure is already starting to get to her as she realizes she'd better tell Laurent the truth now. Laurent Gill leads her into the workshop, telling her this is where she'll be working. Ari is quiet, her mind racing with the fear that she might just disappoint her new boss and get kicked out again. She takes a look around the workshop and is blown away. The furnace is top tier, and all the tools are perfectly laid out and ready for her to get to work. Despite her nerves, she knows she has to do this. She takes a deep breath and prepares for her first step, trying to ignore the way her hands won't stop shivering. Her first attempt is a complete disaster. The iron heats up way too fast, and she panics as the metal starts to burn right before her eyes. The hammer feels heavier with every swing, and the condition of the iron is only getting worse. She starts to wonder if she's simply unfit to be a refiner after all. After burning through 9 blocks of rank E iron, she finally manages to produce just 1 block of rank D. She's devastated by her lack of progress and prepares for the worst. She presents her meager result to Laurent, but he starts cheering instead. He tells her she did an incredible job and that she's actually very talented. Laurent is genuinely glad to have her working there. Ari is stunned as he tells her to keep going at her own pace while he starts cleaning up her mess. She tries to stop him, pointing out that he's the guildmaster, but Laurent doesn't care. He tells her his only job is making sure she can focus entirely on her own talent. With the chores out of the way, Ari starts to feel like a real professional. She can't believe how much progress she's making now that she's focused. She throws herself into the work, her movements becoming smoother and more confident as Laurent watches on with a supportive smile. Before long, she's holding a block of rank C iron. She rushes over to show Laurent, thrilled that she finally has something of value to pay him back with. Laurent is impressed, but he tells her he didn't hire her just to sell cheap rank C iron for a small amount of money. He has much bigger plans for her. He tells her he believes she can refine rank A metals from those ores. Ari thinks it's impossible, but Laurent's gaze is steady and full of absolute trust. He reveals that according to his appraisal, her true potential is rank A. He's betting everything on her effort and her latent talent. Seeing that kind of belief in his eyes makes Ari's heart race. She's never had someone support her like this until now. She feels a sense of calm whenever Laurent is around, though she can't shake the fear that one day he might just leave her behind. That anxiety only pushes her harder. She doesn't want to lose this chance or let down the only person who ever truly hoped for her success. She resolves to become an A-rank refiner, no matter what it takes. She's going to turn every single block of iron into something top tier for the guild. Day 1 is a struggle as she stares at the hearth until the fire burns into her eyes. By day 3, she's finally starting to find her rhythm as a refiner. A week later, after wasting countless ores and striking the iron until her hands hurt, she finally achieves the impossible. She presents the finished product to Laurent, a block of rank A iron. Laurent is beaming, telling her that providing the space was all he did, the rest was her own hard work. Tears of joy stream down Ari's face. She's finally done it. Laurent thinks to himself that with Ari, the refiner position is settled, and Spirit Arsenal is officially on the map. 1 month later, the guild is thriving. Production of products has increased, and Laurent is finally starting to see the fruits of his labor. Lillian Lausier drops by for a visit. Laurent is busy hauling a massive bag, looking much better and more focused than the last time she saw him. Ari greets the famous witch, and Laurent introduces her as their star refiner. Ari is still a bit starstruck by the whole situation. Lillian is absolutely stunned by the quality of the earthcraft. She can't believe Ari made it all herself, but Ari just gives all the credit to Laurent's instructions. Lillian promises that she and her team will match Ari's hard work during their next dungeon quest to ensure they get the best results for the guild. She tells Ari to stay tuned for their next conquest before saying her goodbyes to Laurent, both of them excited for what's coming next for Spirit Arsenal. Lillian notes that her worries were clearly unnecessary. Laurent is humble as always, saying he didn't really do much to nurture Ari's talent. Meanwhile, over at the Golden Hawk Guildhall, a massive crowd has gathered. The word is that a legendary member has finally returned to the headquarters. The members line up and bow, shouting a welcome back to Lady Jill Irwin. The Star Knight walks through the hall with an intense and unreadable expression. Jill walks past them all, thinking about a rule the guildmaster made that she clearly finds ridiculous. She's not exactly the type to enjoy this kind of formal greeting. Her thoughts drift back to the person she owes everything to. She remembers Laurent telling her years ago that she had the potential to be a legendary armor knight. A younger Jill was full of doubt, apologizing for her lack of stamina and inability to wear heavy gear. Laurent just smiled and told her they'd build that stamina up together. He put her through a brutal training regimen. She remembers the endless push-ups, muscle training, and intense sessions with a shield that she wasn't even good at back then. She was constantly soaking with sweat and felt like she was at her breaking point, but Laurent was always there, telling her he was sure she could do it. He eventually led her down a long hallway to the armory for high-ranking members. Jill was confused, wondering why someone of her low rank was being brought there. Laurent opened the door and revealed a weapon specially made just for her. Jill was speechless. It was a piece of gear she never thought she'd be qualified to hold. Laurent told her he spent a lot of effort on it because he believed in her. Realizing that he absolutely trusted her was the moment everything changed for Jill Irwin. He took her to a dungeon for practice, telling her she needed to defeat a golem. Jill prepared herself, determined to become the knight Laurent always imagined she could be. Jill Irwin stares down the massive stone fist of the golem. She recalls the grueling training Laurent Gill put her through, realizing that every drop of sweat was leading to this exact moment. With a sharp cry, she unleashes a single, devastating blow. The golem, a monster most would flee from, is no match for the power Laurent helped her unlock. She leaps through the air, her movement a blur of athletic grace. She doesn't hesitate for a second, her focus entirely on the destruction of her target. The massive stone construct is split clean in two. Jill stands amidst the wreckage, her breathing steady as she proves she is no longer the weak archer she once was. Back at the Golden Hawk headquarters, word of Jill's incredible feat spreads quickly. The members are in awe that a newbie could defeat 3 golems in her very first battle. Lucius Neek sits in his office with Diane, reviewing the reports. Jill is summoned immediately, her heart pounding with the hope that Laurent will finally give her the praise she's worked so hard for. Jill walks briskly through the familiar halls, her mind filled with things she wants to tell Laurent. She owes everything to him and can't wait to share her success. She reaches his door and bursts in with a bright smile, shouting his name. She's finally back, ready to show him the knight she's become. But instead of Laurent, she finds a man she doesn't recognize. He looks up from the paperwork and coldly informs her that Laurent has already been banished from the guild. The news hits her like a physical blow. Confused and desperate, she runs through the guild, demanding to see the guildmaster to find out why they would ever kick out the man who built them up. She bursts into Lucius's office, her voice trembling with rage as she demands an explanation. Lucius remains calm, acting as if the decision was perfectly logical. Lucius spins a deceitful tale, claiming Laurent abandoned his duties and secretly joined their rival, the Magic Tree Guild. He suggests Laurent was seduced by the power of the sorceress Lillian. Jill refuses to believe a word of it. She rushes out, her eyes burning with determination. She promises herself that no matter what the guild says, she will find Laurent and save him. Elsewhere in a deep and dangerous dungeon, a team from Golden Hawk is on a conquest. Marco Santini, an arrogant captain, leads the way as they encounter a swarm of goblins. Marco orders his archers to fire, and the goblins are instantly vaporized in a series of magical explosions. He's confident that this mission will be another easy victory. Marco gloats about his orders from Lucius Neek, feeling superior to everyone around him. He's certain that with their gear and his brilliant leadership, nothing can stop them. He laughs to himself, thinking how simple the dungeon is. He believes their up-to-date equipment and strong warriors make them invincible. He strikes a dramatic pose, praising his own intelligent brain. He's determined to make this large-scale conquest a massive success to further his own standing. They eventually reach the deepest, most ominous part of the dungeon. The air is cold and heavy, and even the scouts look nervous as they survey the area. The chamber is filled with rows upon rows of stone coffins. Marco's team looks around in unease, wondering if this is truly what they were prepared for. Suddenly, the lids of the coffins begin to slide open. Skeletons emerge from the shadows, their hollow eyes glowing with ancient malice as they surround the intruders. The situation quickly turns dire. Marco's team is exhausted and their weapons are dull. Even worse, they realize they don't have enough repair items to sustain a long fight. Marco's arrogance vanishes, replaced by sheer terror. He imagines Lucius Neek firing him for his failure, and the thought of losing his status makes him tremble. Panicked, he decides to prioritize his own safety. He shouts for a retreat, deciding to take whatever information they have back to the guild rather than risk a suicide attack. His subordinates are confused, but Marco screams at them, pointing out the immense financial loss if they lose their expensive gear and lives. He's already making excuses for his cowardice. Before they can flee, one of the soldiers points into the darkness. There's another force entering the chamber, moving with a confidence that Marco's team lacks. It's the main force of the Magic Tree Guild, led by the sorceress Lillian Lausier. They arrive in perfect formation, ready to engage the undead horde. Marco's fear turns back into petty greed. He tells his men to wait, planning to let Magic Tree do the hard work so he can swoop in and claim the victory later. Lillian's team doesn't hesitate, diving straight into the skeleton army. Their movements are synchronized, and they fight with a skill that leaves Marco stunned. The knight and archer of Magic Tree cut through the skeletons with ease. Every strike is precise, and every arrow finds its mark amidst the chaos. A skeleton is smashed to pieces by a heavy blow. The Magic Tree members are relentless, pushing back the undead wave one step at a time. Marco watches from the sidelines, noticing that their weapons are starting to show signs of damage. He smirks, knowing that Golden Hawk has monopolized the market for repair items. He's convinced that without the ability to repair their gear, Magic Tree is doomed. He prepares his own team to battle, waiting for Lillian's guild to crumble. Lillian ignores the watching rivals. She raises her staff and begins to channel a massive amount of mana, her eyes glowing as she announces the start of the fireworks. The air crackles with energy as complex magic circles manifest around her. Marco and his men can only watch in shock as the mana begins to coalesce into something devastating. A colossal explosion of lightning and fire tears through the center of the room. The power is overwhelming, shaking the very foundations of the dungeon. Marco shields his eyes, terrified by the scale of the magic. He tries to convince himself that she can't possibly maintain that level of output for long. But his jaw drops when he sees the Magic Tree members pulling out high-rank repair items. They are fixing their weapons and restoring their energy in the middle of the fight. Marco is horrified. He can't understand how a lower guild could have access to so much earthcraft. He realizes his plan to monopolize the items has failed completely. Lillian and her assistant share a brief look of satisfaction. They know exactly who provided these items, and they have no intention of slowing down now. Lillian gathers the remaining mana for one final, decisive strike. She's determined to clear the dungeon and prove the strength of the guild Laurent chose to support. A massive wave of energy sweeps across the chamber, annihilating every skeleton in its path. With the enemies cleared, Lillian stands triumphant at the deepest part of the dungeon. Lillian Lausier smiles, her heart light after the successful conquest. She whispers a quiet thank you to Laurent, knowing that they couldn't have achieved such a perfect result without his foresight and the high-quality items he provided. Back at the Golden Hawk headquarters, Lucius Neek listens to Marco Santina's report. Marco is desperate and sweaty, trying to blame the failure on the fact that Magic Tree somehow managed to obtain the rare earthcraft items they were supposed to have a monopoly on. Lucius is furious, his expression cold and unforgiving. He calls Marco a disgrace to the guild's elite members and immediately demotes him, ordering him to get out of his sight. Lucius turns his attention to the bigger problem. He suspects there is a traitor within the guild who helped Magic Tree get those items. He decides to summon the representatives of each guild, determined to uncover and crush whoever betrayed him. In Laurent's new workshop, Ari checks on him after hearing a loud crash. Laurent is buried under a mountain of work, his face pale from exhaustion. Ari is worried, realizing the workload he's taking on is far too heavy for one person. Laurent realizes he can't do everything alone. To keep the workshop running efficiently, he needs someone with a specific workshop management skill. He's determined to find the right person to help take the guild to the next level. A young man named Linge Rials comes for an interview. He's enthusiastic but humble, applying for a mineral mining job. Laurent immediately uses his appraisal skill and sees incredible potential. Laurent is impressed. Linge's skills are already first-rate, and he knows exactly where he stands. Laurent believes that with the right guidance and polishing, Linge could become one of their greatest assets. Laurent offers Linge the position, but with a twist. He wants Linge to handle the workshop's management. He promises to give Linge his full support so that his latent talents can truly shine. Linge is nervous, having never worked in management before. However, Laurent's confidence is infectious, and Linge agrees to take on the challenge, looking forward to working with everyone. Laurent begins Linge's training by showing him a magical accounting book. He explains that the first thing he needs to learn is how to manage the numbers that keep the workshop running. Linge is amazed when the numbers in the book start to float in the air. Laurent explains that the book will automatically calculate expenses if the user possesses the workshop management skill. Linge dives into his work with everything he has. He starts to see how the numbers reduce as they eliminate waste and organize their data more efficiently. He realizes this job is a perfect fit for him. Thanks to Linge's hard work, the workshop's management rank increases. Laurent is pleased, seeing that the team is becoming stronger and more organized every day. Lillian visits the workshop to thank Laurent personally. She credits him with their victory over Golden Hawk and for achieving first place in the number of monsters defeated. Laurent takes the opportunity to ask for a favor. He wants to use the rare ores magic tree gathered in the dungeon to create new gear. Lillian is happy to help, knowing the gear he creates will be top tier. However, Laurent admits that he has a problem. The bank refused to provide him with a loan because his workshop's profit ratio isn't high enough yet. He needs a 50 million G loan to truly expand. Laurent is determined to overcome this obstacle. He tells Lillian that he will deliver the gear soon and finds a way to increase his guild's profit ratio. Lillian leaves, trusting him completely. Jill Irwin is seen elsewhere, her eyes full of determination, as she vows to do her best at refining work to return the favor Laurent did for her. She's pushing herself to her limits. The work is grueling, and some of the magical items even start to crack under the pressure. Linge and the others are worried they won't finish in time at this pace. Things are going south fast. A magical item goes haywire, and one of the workers gets badly burned. Laurent steps in and tells Linge to shut it all down immediately. Linge is beating himself up over the mistakes, but Laurent tells him to take a breather. He's more worried about safety than hitting that 5% profit goal right now. He puts a hand on Linge's shoulder, telling him to just be patient. His talent is growing, he just needs to believe in the process. While Linge gets back to work with a new fire in his eyes, Laurent reassures Ari. He knows his hints will sink in eventually. Laurent watches the numbers float in the air. The expenses are racking up, but the work is actually moving faster than expected. He activates a skill to check the tools. Suddenly, his vision shifts, highlighting every detail of the workshop's equipment. It's his workshop management skill. He can see the exact value and risk of every item in the room, like a live accounting book. The skill levels up right then and there. Seeing Laurent's focus, Linge finally gets it. Safety really does come first. They manage to bump the profit ratio, but now they're short on ore. Laurent hands over a dungeon pass, knowing they can't fail this next mission. Linge heads out to find what they need. Just as Laurent settles in, Ari pops in to say they have a guest. Speak of the devil, Diane from Golden Hawk shows up with a smirk that says she's looking for trouble. She takes one look around and starts trashing the place, calling the workshop barren. Laurent keeps his cool and asks what she's actually here for. Diane complains about the cheap tea before getting to the point. She's offering them a chance to become a subsidiary for Golden Hawk. She acts like she's doing them a massive favor. Laurent plays along for a second, saying he'll consider it if the conditions are right. Then she drops the real deal. She wants to buy Ranka iron for a quarter of the market price. She thinks it's a steal for them. Laurent can't help but laugh. He tells her he'd love to buy iron at that price too. Diane realizes she's being mocked and loses it. She storms out, calling them disgusting for living off Lillian. Once she's gone, the workshop feels a lot quieter. Meanwhile, across town at a much fancier estate, Lucius is meeting with Count Elson. The Count is looking for high-quality silverware for his daughter's wedding dowry. He knows Lucius has the best alchemists under his thumb. He's hosting a massive fair to find the best craft. Lucius sees this as the perfect stage to show off his guild's dominance. Lucius talks a big game, promising the Count he'll take home the championship without a doubt. They toast to the deal, but Lucius is secretly mocking the prodigal nobleman behind his wine glass. He's just using the fair to flex his own prowess. Laurent heads back to the quest office. It's been a while, but he notices the vibe has shifted since Lillian talked to the staff. The receptionist is suddenly the politest person on earth. Laurent asks for high-rank minors, but turns out there's nobody available for hire. She's practically begging for forgiveness for how she treated him before. Laurent just smiles and says he already forgot about it. Finding freelance miners is harder than he thought. He decides to hit a tavern to clear his head and grab a drink. While he's there, he runs into Zenth, the manager of a refinery guild. They haven't seen each other since the old Golden Hawk meetings. Zenth is floored when he hears Laurent got kicked out. Laurent just laughs it off, telling him life's actually been great lately. Zenth vents about how Lucius is squeezing the refiners dry, demanding top-tier goods for pennies. It's the same old story. Laurent sees an opening and offers a deal. He'll sell Zenth iron at a discount if Zenth loans him some expert miners. Zenth jumps at the chance. With the manpower problem solved, Laurent celebrates with another round. He's feeling pretty good about the guild's progress. On his way back, he spots a little girl trying to sell flowers. A passerby bumps into her, sending her tumbling to the ground. Laurent helps Child pick up her flowers. She's so grateful she tries to give them to him for free, but he just wants to help. He notices something about her and asks if he can appraise her talent. The girl is a bit confused, but says okay. He activates his skill and his jaw nearly hits the floor. The stats he's seeing are impossible for a kid her age. Child has S-rank potential in alchemy and crafting, but there's a catch: these are dwarf skills and she's an elf. A woman named Sills steps out, identifying herself as the girl's mother. She's protective, wanting to know what Laurent wants with her daughter. Laurent explains he's an appraiser and saw something incredible. Sills realizes he's the real deal and invites him inside to talk. Once they're settled, Sills admits Child's history with these skills is a long, painful story. During the war with the dwarfs, Child was captured and kept as a prisoner. They forced her to learn alchemy and work in their caves. To her parents, those skills are a scar of war, something disgusting they want to forget. Sills is desperate for advice on what to do. Laurent looks her in the eye and tells her to change her perspective. Child's talent isn't a scar, it's a legendary treasure. Laurent doesn't back down. He knows her history is dark, but her potential is bright enough to cut right through that darkness. Miss Child has the talent to be an S-rank alchemist. S-rank Iswa can't believe what he's hearing. Laurent begs him to reconsider, promising to protect this incredible treasure and take good care of her. Iswa just tells him not to be silly. Iswa shuts the conversation down immediately. He won't let Laurent hire Child, even after hearing about her gift. Miss Child's future is off limits. Alchemy is dwarf work in his eyes, a painful reminder of the people who made his daughter suffer. He just wants Laurent to leave his family alone and let them forget the past. Laurent is torn. He can't just walk away and let such a genius talent go to waste, especially when he knows it's what Child wants too. He feels useless despite all his enthusiasm. A father trapped by the scars of war and a girl looking for a ray of light, their worlds couldn't be further apart. Laurent clenches his fists, wondering what he can even do to bridge that gap. Lillian finds him later and points out the worry lines on his face. Laurent admits he's been a bit absent-minded lately, but he tries to brush it off so they can get down to business. They sit down to talk about a massive weapon order. Lillian warns him it's a difficult commission, sliding over a list that makes Laurent's eyes widen. It's a huge list: swords, shields, staffs, all B rank or higher. Lillian needs it in just 1 week and Laurent starts sweating the deadline. Will he even make it? She knows it's an unreasonable request, but they need the gear for a dungeon conquest to protect their loot. It's their big chance to take down Golden Hawk, so Laurent takes the deal and heads off to start immediately. Back at the workshop, Linge is ready and waiting. He's gathered 30 new workers for the big job, and they're all eager to get started. Linge has really stepped up. The new guys realize this is a massive job if it needs 30 people at once. Linge is confident, though, and tells Laurent he's got his back. Time to focus on the work right in front of him. Laurent introduces himself as the owner. He knows taking on such a huge task so suddenly is daunting, but he promises they'll have all the support they need. No need to worry. It's an extremely difficult task, just like he warned, but Laurent believes in them. He gives the word and the entire workshop springs to life. Laurent starts by dividing everyone into small groups. He assigns Linge to help out with the molding, coordinating everyone to work on their specific parts. The groups pair up, compensating for each other's weaknesses to give their best performance. Laurent moves through the workshop, making sure every single person is on the same page. Even though these people just met a few hours ago, Laurent has them working together in perfect harmony. It's a testament to his management skills that the team is already clicking. They're getting into the rhythm fast. Seeing them become such a good team gives Laurent hope that they can actually finish this massive order on time. Linge is already diving in to help where he can. The last few items are finished up and loaded into the wagons. Everyone is exhausted but proud of what they've accomplished. It's finished, Laurent says, looking at the crates. Laurent thanks everyone for their hard work. Linge tells him to hurry up so they can get the delivery moving. They set off at once, eager to get the gear to Lillian. They arrive at the square just in time for the departure. People are cheering for Golden Hawk to do their best, but Lucius is also wishing the No Weapon Guild good luck with a condescending smirk. Lillian is waiting when Laurent and Linge pull up with the wagon. People are shocked by the sheer amount of high-quality gear they managed to produce in such a short time. Lillian knows the only thing to do now is trust them. Lillian apologizes for the wait and unveils the shipment. Laurent is beaming as he presents the fruit of their labor. "Here it is," he shouts as the crowd looks on. The Magic Tree and Spirit Arsenal teams are all smiles. They've done the impossible. The gear is ready for the dungeon conquest, and the momentum is finally shifting in their favor. Laurent is incredibly grateful. He tells Lillian that if it weren't for her, he wouldn't even be in this position. He wants to repay the favor someday for her being the one who helped him when he was at his lowest. Lillian tells him not to even say that. She's just happy he delivered on time. Together, they're looking toward the future, ready to build something better as partners. She's determined to strike a counterattack and make it all the way to the top. This hope Laurent gave her is exactly what she needed to keep fighting. "Let's defeat Golden Hawk," she declares. Their work here is done, but it's really just a new beginning. From now on, it's a battle to win. Just then, Ari runs up to Laurent with news that they have another guest. It's an elf. Laurent rushes over, wondering if it's actually her. He remembers not being able to save her last time, but he's determined to help out this time around. He throws open the door to find her waiting. It's Mrs. Sills. She apologizes for the sudden visit, looking a bit hesitant to even be there. Laurent is surprised to see her again so soon. She starts by apologizing for everything that happened the other day. Laurent tells her it's fine, it was his fault for showing up out of nowhere, but Sills is the one who feels like she needs to make things right. She came here today to ask for a huge favor. Knowing he's a workshop owner, she wants to order some weapons from him. Laurent listens as she starts to explain their situation. They need the weapons to defend themselves. She doesn't want her family to go through that kind of danger ever again. Laurent understands, but he's curious why she'd come specifically to him. The truth is, their business isn't doing well and they're in a dangerous position without gear. They don't have much money, but they're desperate for protection. She knows her request doesn't look good, but she begs him to accept. Laurent takes a look at the budget she's provided. It's tight, and she admits it's their absolute limit. She's practically pleading with him for help. Laurent sighs. He can't even cover half the order with that budget. He tells her he's sorry, and Sills looks absolutely crushed. Is there really nothing he can do for them? Then something clicks. Maybe if she allows him to hire Chile, they could make something work within that budget. Sills is torn. She can't make a decision like that without her husband's permission. She apologizes again for her unreasonable request. It's been 7 days since their talk, and Laurent is still stuck on what to do. Ari finds him brooding and tells him he's overworking himself. If he shuts himself in, he's going to miss something important. Lillian pops in, apologizing for being late. She tells Laurent to have a seat and asks if he's feeling any better. They've got a meeting to start, so they get right to the point. She asks if he'd like to buy silver ore. Plenty of it has been mined in the dungeons lately, but there's a problem. Golden Hawk has a monopoly on all the alchemists who can actually manufacture silverware. Laurent is quiet, thinking it over. Lillian notices he seems upset about something. She tells him he often thinks too much, and he should just share his ideas if he has any. She reminds him that he's not alone anymore. It's hard to move forward when you're afraid of failure, but sometimes you just have to go for it. The talented people he's nurtured aren't as weak as he thinks, like that kid, Chile. Lillian prepares to leave, telling Laurent they'll resume business at their next meeting. Chile stands nearby, looking expectant. Lillian encourages her to help Laurent just as he helped her. Chile steps forward, her eyes bright with hope. She mentions the Count's upcoming silverware fair and confesses her deep love for silver crafting. Bowing deeply in front of the workshop, Chile makes a heartfelt plea. She begs Laurent to help her become a great silversmith. The silence stretches as Laurent hesitates. Chile looks up, her heart sinking as she asks if it's a no. Laurent can only offer a soft apology. Laurent explains that he was the one who should have approached her first. He confesses his hesitation stemmed from learning about her painful past and her parents' wishes. Chile is quick to reassure him she truly loves alchemy and wants to dedicate her life to it. Seeing her resolve, Lawrence's own determination returns. He declares that the hesitation is over and asks Chile if she would like to make silverware for his guild, promising to handle her father himself. Chile's face lights up with a radiant smile as she agrees to work with him. Laurent promises to do everything in his power to help her reach her potential. Later at the guild, Laurent discusses their future expenditures. He presents a document that leaves Linge absolutely stunned by the figures. Laurent officially introduces Chile as their new silversmith. Linge is immediately supportive, promising to help remodel the workshop to fit her needs as fast as possible. They stand before a grand building marked New Workshop. Chile is fired up and ready to dive into her work. At the home of Isua and Sills, they are celebrating a successful day of selling flowers. They've made enough to cover their weapon costs for the month, but a knock at the door brings a surprising request for Mr. Isua to come outside. Laurent has brought them to the new workshop. The air is so fresh it feels like a forest, and Isua can't believe this is a place of work. Then he sees Chile. Isua is stunned to find his daughter here. Chile apologizes for not telling him, but explains that she requested this job because of her passion for silver crafting. Chile stands her ground, declaring she won't give up on her dream. Isua looks at his daughter, seeing a fire in her eyes he hasn't seen in a long time. Laurent explains that he built this workshop specifically to have clear air. Isua is impressed, even if he didn't appreciate the surprise. In the end, Isua gives his blessing. He tells Chile to take good care of herself, and they decide to stay in the town to be near her. Laurent officially introduces Chile to the rest of the crew. She greets them enthusiastically, acknowledging her youth but promising to use her unique talents to help everyone. One of the blacksmiths shows off a new A-class weapon he's finished. Chile appraises it, noting its power but warning that its endurance is low. She explains that A-class items are tricky and require specific product design skills. To help her, Laurent brings over a massive stack of books on product design. He hopes she can memorize them, and Chile is more than ready for the challenge. Chile dives into the textbooks, finding them surprisingly easy to organize and memorize. Her previous experience with alchemy makes the concepts feel natural. Chile pushes herself to the limit, eventually falling asleep at her desk surrounded by papers. Ari and Laurent find her there, amazed by how much information she's already absorbed. She wakes up and immediately wants to start on the next book. Her focus is intense as she vows to study even harder. Laurent is impressed when Chile gets full marks on her study. Now he tells her it's time for the practical part, drawing an A-class bow design. He provides her with high-ranking designs for reference. Chile takes them, determined to finish a design that meets the workshop standards. The two of them work late into the night, side by side. Laurent offers her his full support as she carefully sketches out the complex mechanics of the bow. As the night grows late, the pressure of the tight budget begins to weigh on Laurent. Nearby, Linge is in a state of shock over Laurent's recent promises. Linge can't believe Laurent promised to sell 50 A-rank bows for only $1,000,000 gold as a condition for hearing Chile. It's an impossible price, but Laurent stands by his decision. Chile accidentally overhears the conversation and is devastated, believing she's a burden to the guild. Laurent finds her and immediately apologizes for the stress he's caused. Laurent gently explains that the price was his own suggestion, even though her parents didn't demand it. He did it because he truly believes in her ability to make it happen. He reveals his deeper motive. As an appraiser, he swore to help every talented person he finds reach their peak. He admits to breaking that promise once before and is determined not to let it happen again. Vowing to follow his heart this time, Laurent tells Chile that all she needs to do is enjoy her work. Chile is moved by his sincerity. The next morning, Chile is already back at it, her face smudged with soot. Linge approaches her, looking sheepish as he apologizes for his outburst the day before. Chile is no longer discouraged. She tells Linge she wants to be like everyone else and contribute to the workshop. She just needs a little more time to get it right. She promises to do her best and repay everyone's kindness as a proud member of Spirit Arsenal. Night after night, Chile slaves over her desk, surrounded by failed designs. She pushes herself, promising to become the S-rank alchemist that Spirit Arsenal needs. The frustration of constant revisions only fuels her fire. She clenches her fists, swearing to do better with each attempt. Outside her door, Ari and Linge watch with concern. They're worried she's pushing herself too hard, but Linge insists they shouldn't disturb her while she's in the zone. Laurent enters the room to check on her progress. Chile is surprised, hiding her latest sketch, but Laurent asks to take a look even if it's not finished. After reviewing the design, Laurent notes it's perfect, but far beyond the current skills of their workshop. Chile immediately offers to simplify the base to make it more manageable. Laurent shifts focus to the materials, leaving the procurement to Linge. However, Linge brings bad news. The price of the necessary mineral has tripled, putting the project way over budget. Linge has an idea to solve the problem. He asks Laurent for permission to step away from his management duties for a few days. He's determined to go and harvest the ores himself within 5 days to keep the costs down. Laurent agrees to handle the management work in the meantime, and Linge heads off, fired up to support Chile. 5 days have passed. Chile triumphantly holds up her finished design, announcing that it's now well within the workshop's capacity to produce. Laurent is impressed, while a tired but determined Linge continues his mining efforts in the background. Laurent gives Chile a thumbs up, thanking her for her incredible hard work. He tells her she's done a great job and urges her to take a well-deserved rest. She nods and heads home, finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Linge returns to the guild, carrying heavy sacks of ore on his back. Chile is shocked to see him so worn out and realizes he's been pushing himself to help her. She feels guilty, but Linge just laughs it off, saying he's just doing his part. Linge explains that he wanted to help his colleague, and that Chile's hard work has been an inspiration to him. Moved by his words, Chile's resolve only grows stronger. She declares her passion for the team and her desire to contribute everything she can. As Chile leaves, Laurent watches her go, noting how much she's matured in just a few days. Ari watches from the shadows, noticing the bond forming within the group. Linge hands his heavy bags over to her, telling her he'll leave the rest of the processing to her. Ari takes the bags into the workshop and begins her work. She's focused and intense, fueled by a desire to keep up with Chile's dedication. Beads of sweat roll down her face as she pushes through the fatigue. The day of the delivery arrives. Isua, Chile's father, is stunned as Laurent presents 50 A-rank bows. Laurent credits the success entirely to Chile's incredible effort as an alchemist. Chile stands tall, proud of what she's achieved. Isua examines the bows, his eyes widening in awe. He can sense a divine light coming from them, as if they were blessed by the elven goddess herself. He admits he didn't expect them to succeed and is deeply impressed by the quality of the work. Isua prepares to leave, but before he goes, he takes Laurent aside. He expresses his profound gratitude to the Appraiser for discovering his daughter's talent and teaching her so well. Spirit Arsenal has earned his eternal respect. With a shout of determination, Isua asks Laurent to take good care of his daughter in the future as well. Laurent responds with an equally enthusiastic, yes, of course, both men sharing a moment of mutual understanding and respect. The town is buzzing with excitement as the silverware fair begins. Chile is full of energy, dragging Laurent toward the displays. She's amazed by the sheer variety and beauty of the silverware on display throughout the town. They stop in front of a particularly beautiful silver platter. Laurent explains that the maker of this piece is a man named Dorwin, and that he will be Chile's biggest rival in the upcoming silverware contest. Chile is momentarily taken aback by the high standard. Laurent immediately regrets being so blunt, worried that he might have intimidated her. He remembers that despite her immense skill, she's still just a young girl. He wonders if he's pushing her too much by setting such a high bar. Chile is quiet for a moment, looking at the platter. Laurent thinks it's better for her to know the reality of the competition sooner rather than later, but he still feels a pang of guilt for putting such pressure on her. Suddenly, Chile breaks into a wide smile. She's not intimidated, she's fascinated. She tells Laurent she's never seen such a beautiful design before and that seeing it has only made her more excited to compete. Laurent realizes he has nothing to worry about. Laurent watches her, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. Chile is a wonderful kid who truly enjoys a challenge. He knows she'll be able to handle whatever the contest throws at her. Chile expresses her dream of one day producing works that can be displayed alongside the best in the town. Laurent is supportive but has to deliver some hard news. Because of Golden Hawk's monopoly, no one in this town will currently buy silverware from Spirit Arsenal. Chile takes the news surprisingly well. She says she's just happy as long as she can make silverware and that she's an elf, so she's naturally good at waiting. She urges Laurent not to worry and to go see more of the fair with her. They find a bench to rest on, both of them feeling the fatigue of the long day. Chile noticed Laurent was looking down and asks him what's wrong. Laurent realizes he's been transparent and decides it's time to share some of his own story. Laurent confesses that he once worked at Golden Hawk, the very guild they are now competing against. He explains that he was fired and built Spirit Arsenal with the specific goal of one day defeating them. Chile listens intently, her respect for him deepening. He explains the harsh reality. If Chile's father had found out about his past or the guild's current standing, he might not have let her work there. But Chile stops him, her expression firm. She tells him that staying in Spirit Arsenal is the only thing that matters to her. Chile pours out her heart, thanking Laurent for all he's done. helping her persuade her father, staying up late to teach her, and putting in so much effort on her behalf. She's grateful for the chance to do what she loves in her own way as an alchemist of spirit arsenal. With a radiant smile and a pointed finger, Chile makes a final promise. She vows to do her absolute best to make silverware that will bring happiness to people and to one day become the best alchemist in the entire town. To be continued.